And we're live in the Empowered Moms Studios. I love Cinderella. It has so many layers. And I talked about this earlier on my Facebook page. But let me just say the glass slipper method, or as I have it, the ruby slipper, because, no place like home. But this Cinderella, she likes red. And this Cinderella, she likes sparkle and she likes heels. So, whatever color your glass slipper is, I'm just going to tell you that the glass slipper method has been just fantastic at weeding out who is actually for me and who is part of my world and is attracted to what I'm putting out there and is actually going to treat me well, including getting dream clients, including true love, including just finding those friends and family that you want to stay with versus the energy vampires. And I was thinking about this over the weekend as I was doing my really awesome training. And I recognized, first of all, I have created such a glass slipper method in my business and what I really put out to the world. I mean, this in itself is a glass slipper, and so is this. And all of my content is a glass slipper. And what I put out into the world is a glass slipper. And the thing about the glass slipper is that it doesn't have the foot inside of it. If you want the foot, well, then you have to bring the glass slipper and take action, don't you? I love Cinderella. It's one of my favorite movies. And I just have to share because I've recognized that it has just so many layers. So I'm going to actually teach the glass slipper method through the composite of 3 Cinderella stories. The first one is Charles Perrault's version, which a lot of people think is the Disney version of Cinderella with the fairy godmother and the little mice. But there's another version, the Grimm's fairy tale version. And you might not have heard of this one. Really? Really? Right now? No, you can tell me later. Like, see, this is an example right here of a glass slipper method and wicked stepmothers. Ah, sorry. I can't help myself. He can wait. Anyway, he just wants to tell me how much the stuff is for my son's shoes. We're getting stuff for him. I'm just gonna quickly text him though. Ugh. Just text me and I'll give you the money after. On a live stream. Obviously, I'm going to have to edit this later. That's okay. See, what I'm talking about with the glass slipper method, I just did an example of that right there. That is taking my energy away from what I really want to do, which is put out light. And just like the wicked stepmother who took Cinderella's kindness and good nature and was like, I'm going to steal all this. People who take your attention away from your light, you have to be very careful who you are in a connection with. So this is my ex, and he is currently taking kids out and he's getting them shoes. He can wait. I will give him the extra money for what the kid needs, but like, I don't need to give it right away. Thank you. Again, see, the receipt is with the shoes. This is again about the glass slipper method. See, there's an example right happening. I wasn't expecting that to happen, but the universe loves to do that. This is a really good example for any moms out there who are dealing with a narcissist, by the way, and trying to, or a really toxic ex because they bombard you with stuff. And this is also really good for anybody who's in the business world and happens to have one of those clients, the one that you don't actually want to work with, but keeps pestering you and keeps bombarding you with questions. But it's like, oh my God, this person would be a nightmare to work with because they're just going to ask for everything for free or for lower cost and try to discount your services. Again, the glass slipper method. Or maybe It is a new dating prospect. I had a few of these way back in 2021 where people were like, oh, Carly's on the market. So I'm going to bombard her with stuff and I'm going to try to get her attention and I'm going to try to distract her from what she's trying to do. And I had a few people like, well, you're too focused on your business. You need to go out and you need to actually have some fun. And it's like, no, I just healed from a relationship and I need some time for myself here. So the glass slipper method is really about preserving your energy and recognizing your worth. Because first of all, this isn't no running shoe. This is a freaking sparkly glass slipper. Cinderella didn't have no running shoe. So with the two stories, the main stories, and then the subversive trope of it, it goes like this. There's Charles Perrault's version, and there is the version with the Grimm's fairy tale. Not everybody knows the Grimm's fairy tale. Grimm's fairy tale has no fairy godmother in it. Has something else. And the subversive part of the Grimm's fairy tale, which is another example of the glass slipper being used the wrong way, when you don't actually recognize what your glass slipper is and you don't recognize your worth and what's attached to the glass slipper is actually more valuable than the glass slipper. Well, that is the third story, which is Into the Woods' version of the Grimm's fairy tale. So I'm going to just tell you quickly. The first one, My Cinderella, Charles Perrault's version that they redid in Disney, is my absolute favorite. Because Cinderella, beautiful Cinderella, is have courage and be kind. Cinderella in Charles Perrault is such a sweet, honest country girl. And she is kind and she has courage. And even when her stepmother comes in and is nasty and horrible to her, she tries to make the best of the situation. She is honest and giving. But the wicked stepmother takes advantage of that. And so do the stepsisters, and they treat her like garbage. And they're just taking advantage of her good nature. And they're taking advantage of the fact that she's the only one that actually cares about that house. The reason Cinderella is there is not just because she has nowhere else to go, because she does try to run away. The reason she's there is because there is something that's tying her there, her memories of her father and her mother and that house. And with all the servants dismissed, she's the only one that cares enough to keep that house going. So she takes care of that house. The wicked stepmother is kind of taking advantage of this. And as the story progresses, Cinderella runs into the prince in the woods, doesn't know he's the prince. She just thinks he's a really nice apprentice. And it's played by Richard Madden. So he's got those dreamy blue eyes. And I'm a sucker for blue eyes. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching this and it's like, oh, like she's got this kind heart and he sees that kind heart. So she's already kind of like, I want to see him. And then, of course, the fairy godmother comes in when Ella is all sad because, the wicked stepmothers and the sisters, they tear her dress as they do. So one of the things with Cinderella stories is that there's a moment where you're kind and courageous and you're beautiful and sweet and innocent. And the world just takes advantage of that. It tends to take advantage of that because Ella didn't see her worth. She didn't actually see her value. She didn't see herself as someone valuable until she meets that prince, Mr. Kit, as she calls him. And he sees her and she's like, I just want to go to the palace to see my friend. Like she actually went back to the house where she's been mistreated because she now had something. And then at the end, of course, like she loses her shoe and she actually, there's this whole thing with the Duke where he's trying to keep Kit from going after Ella because Ella is of lower status and Kit is high status, obviously. And then the stepmother actually finds the shoe and she tells Ella as she's stroking the shoe. And she says, Ella, I need to rise up in the world, basically. I mean, she has a whole speech, but it's like she needs to rise up in the world. Her first marriage she had for love and he died. In the second marriage, she tried to live to support her daughters and herself, but of course, that man was still in grief over his wife, as he should be, and she she was then she lost him, so then she's destitute, basically. I mean, you have to look at her station. I mean, she had her own issues, but the way that she talks to Ella, she's like, "I will give you this slipper, and you can go and marry that prince. I'll let you marry that prince. But I run the household. Make me no mistake, that boy doesn't know his power, and I want the power." So she is looking at Ella like, "I will give you your prince. You can have him, but you're going to have to basically sell him out." And just like the Little Mermaid in the original Hans Christian Andersen, who was told to kill the prince to survive, Ella says, "I'm not going to do that." And she locks herself in her own room. She actually isn't locked in her room. She's like, "I am not going to allow you to do that to Kit. I'm not going to let you do that. So sorry, you can try to manipulate me into selling him out, but I won't." And the Duke, meanwhile, is also in on it with the stepmother. And he's like, "I want Kit to marry this Princess Shelina and give us our wealth. So I will give you something, Baroness, or whatever. I will make sure that you end up as my Duchess." And she's like, "Oh, I like that idea. I like that idea a lot." So of course they're in cahoots. And the Duke knows that Ella is up in the attic, but he's not going to mention anything to the prince, and he's not going to mention anything to his right-hand man. And his right-hand man, of course, they've basically disguised the prince as one of the guards. So as they're leaving, after trying on the shoe on these two stepsisters, and the prince is like, "I guess I have to marry Shelina," all of a sudden the mice have opened the window, and Ella is singing, "Lavender's blue, dilly dilly, lavender's green. When you are king, dilly dilly, I'll be your queen." Or something like that. I mean, I've manipulated that song a few times, so for my own devices, because I love it so much. It's one of my favorite songs, one of my favorites to sing. And so of course they're like, "Wait a minute, she's up there." And then Ella comes down and she's like, "I have no dowry, I have no parents, I have no carriage, but will you take me as I am, an honest country girl who loves you?" And he's like, "As long as you take me as I am, an apprentice who's just still learning his trade." And so there's that story. Then there's the other story with the Grimm's fairy tale, which again has Cinderella with her glass slipper. Only in this one, there's actually the rule of three. So one of the things I learned in the fairy tales is that there's a rule of three when I was doing the children's literature. And there's always a rule of three. And this is true in life too. So you get like 3 times that you might fail at something. So the first night, Cinderella goes to the ball and the prince sees her and he wants her and she runs away and he doesn't get her. The second night, she goes to the ball again and he dances with her and then she runs away again. But the third night, he's smart because he's seen her run from him twice now, and he's not going to let her get away. So he spreads pitch on the stairs, and he does it so that her shoe gets stuck. Now she can't run away. Now he's seen her. He knows where she is, and he is not going to rest until he gets to her. Now, Cinderella, of course, thinks she's just terrified. I mean, she loves this prince, but she doesn't think she belongs in his world. I mean, she's been basically beaten down by her family for so long. And in this one, her father didn't actually die. In this one, he was alive, but he was weak. So he allowed the stepmother to treat Ella like horrible. So Cinderella had actually taken a twig that her father had brought back on one of his trips, and she'd turned it like in the soil. She watered it. It turned into a magnificent tree because it was at her mother's grave. And then basically what happened is she would pray to this tree, and then the birds would do her bidding for her. And her mother's dress once floated down or something. It was like a dress of gold and shoes of gold. So it wasn't a glass slipper, it was a gold slipper in this tale. But the idea is that the prince is like, I'm not letting her get away this time, and I'm going to get her shoe. And then I'm going to find the shoe that fits this princess, because that is the only princess for me. I'm going to go get her. And so obviously, like in this one, oh, the women of the town are all trying to fit into this tiny glass slipper, and they can't do it. And when it gets to the stepmother's house, the stepmother, this is pretty gruesome, by the way, she says, cut off your heel. When you're a queen, you will no longer have to walk. And so she cuts off the heel. In fact, this is me breaking into song again. So it's, why won't it fit? Darling, be still. Cut off a bit of the heel and it will. And when you're his wife, you'll have such a life you'll never need to walk. So the first sister, she's got her heel chopped off and she's fitting in the shoe. This goes back into my thing about soulmates versus karmic. And you have to cut off bits of yourself in order to fit the slipper. So this is the same thing if you're trying with a client and you have to cut off bits of what you offer or discount for them to fit into the slipper. They're not a good fit, or they have to alter themselves to fit you. You want the good fit. Same with your friendships. If you have to cut off a bit of yourself in order to stay in friendship with them because it just doesn't fit, they're not really your friends. So these sisters are willing to chop off bits of themselves just to look like the princess that the prince is looking for. They will hide their true natures just to get this. You got to be careful with those people. Those are the people that will then chip at you because they are willing to change themselves just to become what you want. And there's the ones that do it because they're doing it from a bit of wounding, and there's the ones that will do it in a way to manipulate you to then chip away at you so that you fit them. And this is true in life, this is true in business, this is true in love, this is true in everything. So again, Cinderella comes down and of course she fits the shoe perfectly. But before that, the prince is almost fooled. Like he literally rides away with one of the sisters. And then the birds are chirping in the tree and telling him there's blood in the shoe. There's blood in the shoe. Your princess is back. Like there's an actual rhyme. But it's like, okay, turn around. You're not it. Next. Next is the next sister. Chop off her toe. Blood in the shoe. And then finally, Cinderella is the one that fits the slipper. Like he finally figures it out, that she manages to try on the shoe and they ride away together. And the sisters actually get their eyes pecked out. It's actually very nice. Now, the subversive part about it is where you have to be careful. Because there's a subversive version of Cinderella, which is where that song came from, Into the Woods. That's where it came from. But he's a very smart prince. He's a prince that prepares. Knowing this time I'd run from him. He spread pitch on the stairs, and I'm caught unawares. Well, it means that he cares. Except he doesn't actually care about her. He cares about the beautiful, sparkly maiden that he sees that keeps running from him. And he will do anything in his power to have her. So he spread pitch on the stairs to capture her. But there's a second part of Into the Woods where you find out that this prince was not that great. As soon as he got her, he devalued her. He didn't recognize just the value of her. It's like, oh, I've got this bride and now she's my trophy and I've got her and I'm good. But, oh, look at this baker's wife and how brave she is. And I shall romance her in the woods because anything can happen in the woods. May I kiss you? And it's like, what the hell? And that is, again, the kind of manipulative people that will be like, well, I've got your slipper and you think I care as I've got your slipper and I'm saying, please, maiden, try on the slipper. But really, I just prize this slipper. I think this slipper is so sparkly. And I mean, you're attached to the slipper, but it's a possession thing. So how does this all tie into what I've done? Because you're probably curious. How does the glass slipper method actually work? It's simple. You be yourself. You be your sparkly, full expressed, loving self in all aspects of your life. In fact, when I was doing my little masterclass, I gave everything, absolutely everything. I told my entire secret of why true natural birth doesn't work. I said it. The natural birth traps. I taught that whole class. You can go check it out on YouTube. I decided I wasn't even going to put it behind an email thing because I can only put so many people on my email list anyway. And I want to make sure that the right people are on it. But at the same time, this is really important information and it's light that I need to shine out. So I'm making an impact here. So that is a glass slipper in itself. It's like, here it is. Here is the glass slipper. Now, here's the thing. If you want to take action, then you have to go out and actually take control. You have to go out with the slipper and find what you're looking for. But I've given you your power back. I actually said, here's your power. It's right here. And you can take it. It's up to you. Like, I've got it in my book. That's easy enough. It's $9.99 on Kindle. Anybody can buy that one. The paperback is a little bit more. I've got my courses. I'm building a program right now. It's going to be mostly like through email. And then like there's going to be some laser coaching as well that I'm going to do, which just basically means they get on a call with me. They get access to me for 15 minutes for calls. The reason I'm doing that again is like, well, who in this is going to fit that glass slipper? Because I got a glass slipper that says, people Carly will work with. This is people who Carly will work with, people Carly will spend time with, people Carly will call her dearest friends. And if something happens and they need me, I will drop something else to help them because they gave me a slipper too. So I know that I got my slipper and they got the other, and I got the other one, and they got one and I got one. And we know that's like, if you are going to be in connection with me, you got to do the work. Otherwise, not happening. Just not happening. Not sticking my foot into a slipper that is too small for me. Except for these, because I'll squish my feet into these just because they're so pretty. And this was like the only size left. So, I mean, it's just a little tiny bit too small, but they're so pretty. I couldn't resist. I'm sure I'll get a bigger size at some point, and then I'll just use these as decoration. But they're so pretty. Sorry, I can't help myself. As I said, I'm just going to be my sparkly, happy self. And I mean, you can watch this or you can skip ahead or whatever you want to do, but I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And I'm going to encourage you to do what you're going to do. Because the more you do what you're going to do, it's like a bird call. It's like, here I am, world. It's like Cinderella singing and suddenly attracting the mice to her and the little birds. It's Cinderella singing and attracting her prince. It's Cinderella just being out there, being kind and loving to everybody and suddenly getting noticed at the ball. I mean, if Cinderella had been conceited and been like, I am up here to go and get what I want, and I am going to ignore everything else, she would not have attracted the prince. But it was because she was just so kind and loving and just out there. And she was just out there having a good time. In all of these stories, Cinderella's just out there having a good time. She's just dancing. She's just having fun. And she's just so in awe of the fact that she gets to go to this ball in the first place. So everything's a wonder to her and a beauty. And because of that, when you look at the world, like anybody could potentially benefit from my light. And I'm going to shine it out into the world. And I'm going to shine out my magnificence. I'm going to shine out my magic. And I'm going to share my wisdom. And I'm going to put it on YouTube or put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram, whatever your platform. If you're on social media and you've got a message, there is no excuse, no excuse. If you've got a message to share and it's important and you know that it's going to help people, you're actually being very, very stingy right now by not sharing it. If you've got something that you know is going to transform somebody's life and you're being very stingy with it, you don't pay for information. You don't pay for love. You pay for the actual connection. The actual connection is what's most important, because here's the other thing. You got to give that love to yourself. You've got to be like, I am more valuable than this slipper. I am so much more valuable. So, I mean, this is me being a little naughty again. Okay. So I'm just going to warn you, I'm a Scorpio. Okay. I cannot help myself. So if you're going to get a little bit of your pearls clutching or whatever, when I say this, that I'm not for everyone. Okay. I'm just not. Now, the prince has danced with this beautiful princess. Oh, she is absolutely amazing. Now, the prince could, in theory, imagine that princess for the rest of his life while he's with another. And every time that he is doing his thing, he's picturing her instead of whatever wife he chooses. Or the prince is taking the slipper and he's using it as, material. He could do that. That's fine. When you're a woman out there, or even a guy, come on. I mean, if you're hot and you're doing your thing and you know you're hot, you know it, there are going to be people out there who are going to look. And believe me, I've got so many people, like guys are constantly trying to get me to reply to their messages, and I don't. Because you know what? I didn't give them the glass slipper. And they're not getting my glass slipper. They don't get to do that. They can see me at the ball. Absolutely. They can fantasize all they want. That's fine. This glass slipper, this is a special glass slipper. This glass slipper is only for my prince. And he's got his glass slipper and he can do whatever he wants with that glass slipper. But you know what? It only fits my foot. So the thing is that when you find that person that you're ready to give that glass slipper to, you don't give all of yourself. You just show them that's like, I've chosen you. And it's the same thing with your clients. Like I have said to people, it's like, look, I want to work with you. I really do want to help you. I do think that we could do something magnificent. I could truly help you get your dreams. But you do have to pay me. Even though I want to work with you, even though like you are my dream client, I'm not going to give you the pitch. I'm not even going to give you the glass slipper right away. No, I'm going to dance at the ball for a little bit. And then if you want, you can try to spread pitch on the stairs and get my slipper. But if you want it, you got to come after it. And it's up to me whether or not I stick my foot in that slipper yet. I'm going to see if you're ready for me to stick that foot in that slipper. Otherwise, you can have the slipper. The slipper in itself is pretty good. I mean, I have my book. That's a slipper. And I say now, it's like if somebody wants to get on a call with me, they got to read my book and they got to go through my system. It's easy, simple. And the same thing with my friends. My friends all know, like, if you are in connection with me, I am constantly going to be tracking for where you are in your highest self, and I'm going to push you towards your dream. And I'm also not going to let you play small with me. So there is no taking of my energy if you're not going to like at least respect that I need to recharge. And I'm only going to give as much as I can give in that moment. And the thing is like, this stops the energy vampires. This stops the wicked stepsisters from taking advantage. Because if you say, I am out here, but I'm not going to give to the point of depletion, and they keep saying, but we want more, but we want more. And you're like, I'm sorry, that's all I'm going to give right now. If you want any more, you gotta balance that out. And they're like, oh, dare you? You're so mean. You won't help me. And they whine and cry and complain. Or the guys are like, oh, you're not gonna, you like, I just gave you all these compliments. I was being nice to you, and you're really, no, really, like, you don't want some of this. I was like, mm-hmm. Yeah, hi person who doesn't actually value me and just saw me as an object. Mm-mm, not doing that. Not doing that. Or your friends. Oh, you're not going to help me move. You're not going to help me with this. You're not going to come to my party. Well, no, I really need to like take care of myself right now. I was just on something big, and like they're pissed off at you, and they act like you don't love them. Or family with obligations. Oh, you're not going to do this thing, really? After all I've done for you? It's like, mm, okay, I see it. But there's a difference between family loyalty and family obligation. There's a difference between friendship and loyalty and friendship obligation. There's a difference between serving your client and depleting yourself. There's a difference between finding your true love and finding a karmic partner who will take advantage of your good nature and who will absolutely lap up all the gifts and maybe even love bomb you in the beginning. But sooner or later, they get to the point where they're like, I did this for you and you didn't give me as much in return. And that was really all you could give in that moment. And it's like, you know what? I actually like scrimped and saved to buy this for you, and you don't even appreciate it. Whereas you can just throw whatever at anything. Like, you threw some money down. Yay. Awesome. I'm not going to get into examples. First of all, that part of my life is done. That part of my life was a very dark chapter, and I really don't want to revisit it anymore. To be honest, I just don't. Maybe I will if I need to talk about abusive relationships and toxic relationships in the future, but honestly, I'm done with that chapter. I'm in the chapter of abundance. 2024 is the chapter of abundance for me. And I know that everything is coming to me. And I know that my prince is on his way with my glass slipper in his hand, and he's going to slip it on my foot. And I know that all my clients have got the glass slipper. They know that there is so much more that I can give than what I've put on YouTube. I mean, I put out 2 trainings. One is on fear and one is on natural birth traps. And they are both like 2 hours long. So I really gave it. And I'll cut it up later and put it in tiny bits and pieces for people. But the idea is like, if you want to work with me, or if you just want to get the result, either way, you want to get out of your fear and you want to do it on your own, do it on your own. I want you to be able to do this on your own. If you want my help to make it go faster and to accelerate it and to really put those pieces together and avoid all the pitfalls, well, I don't work with anyone that right now. I'm like very intentional of what I'm doing. So I'm not actually going to take major coaching clients unless it's just so good that I'm just like, you know what? I really want to help you and you're willing to pay me, and it's an equal balance of power. And it's like, yes, I will help you. But even then, it's got to be a dream at this point, because I'm moving away from one-to-one now that I've done that. And someone in my life had told me a couple of years back that I needed to be more intentional with my energy once I got to a certain point, and I'm there. And I know that I'm going to be wanting to protect my energy even more. I mean, this full moon was incredible for like how tired I actually was yesterday. And that's what I'm going to leave you with, is just like, If you want to call in your fairy godmothers in your life, then in order to do that, you have to be kind and show your light, because that's what attracts the fairy godmothers, like to have that kindness and that faith. If you lose all your faith and you're not kind, the fairy godmother doesn't appear. If you don't take action towards your dreams, the fairy godmother doesn't appear. If you don't leave that slipper for the prince, he doesn't arrive. You've got to leave that slipper. You've got to show up at the ball. You've got to show up at the ball. You got to dance with the prince, and you got to leave that slipper. But you don't give everything. You don't give everything. And as for the step sisters and the stepmothers, well, they'll get their eyes pecked out. Don't worry about that. You don't even have to do anything. And all you have to do is have the courage and be kind and recognize that those people, they're going to fall away. The higher up you rise as the princess in the world or the prince, the more they can't touch you. The birds will literally peck their eyes out. So I could probably go deeper into that metaphor, but I think that's enough to unpack. And you take what resonates and you leave what doesn't. And if this was just entertaining for you, just to see me talk about Cinderella for a little bit, I mean, that in itself is fun. Or just watching me shine, because I'm just having fun. Like, I'm really just having fun with this. This is my soapbox to have fun. If I'm trying to do something intentionally, that's my teaching. This is fun. This is if you're here and you're watching these, this is my thing. This is my domain. This is my light. And you can either take it in or you can be mad about it. I mean, whatever. Then you drop off. But I don't think you will. I don't think you will drop off, because you're still watching. You're still my friend. And I'm very intentional now with my friends. So thanks for so much if you got this far. I love you. And it's a pretty shoe. It's such a pretty shoe. Anyway, I just want to leave you with the fact that find bits of joy in your life every day. That's what Cinderella did. She found little bits of joy. She delighted in dressing up the mice or talking to the mice. She delighted in watering her mother's tree at her grave. She found those little pockets of joy. And then by finding those pockets of joy, she was able to get through the darkness. So even if this is a pocket of joy for you right now, just seeing me being in my antics, that's enough for me. And if you've gotten the powerful message and you're recognizing that you can shine light in the world, you can be like Cinderella and just have courage and be kind and shine light wherever you go and sing. And even if you're scrubbing the floors, you're singing, then that in itself is powerful. If you recognize that you've got your own glass slipper and that somebody out there is looking for you to leave that glass slipper for them to find, so that they can come in and bring more abundance and more happiness and love and light into your life, either as a client or a friend or a partner, then that's really where the magic is. The magic is in you. The fairy godmother didn't just enchant a shoe. She just showed Cinderella who she was all along. She took away all the ashes and the soot and everything that everybody else said that she was, in all the grime, and chipped it away and said, this is what you actually are. And she did her magic. And the glass slipper is a metaphor for that magic, that shine and sparkle that you have when you only believe in yourself. Because no matter how your heart is grieving, if you keep on believing, the dream that you wish will come true. All right. So I'm going to go play now for the rest of the day until the kids come home. And I do have to check that text just to see how much I owe for Hunter's shoes, because I need to make sure that he has those because that's joy for him. Hunter found basketball, and that's a joy for him. So for me to give him that joy brings me joy. And that's the thing is when you bring joy to others, you feel it too. But you have to do it from a place of altruism. You can't do it from a place of wanting to get something because that's a wicked stepmother. The wicked stepmother was only nice to Cinderella's father enough to get him to give her the ring. And then as soon as she got that ring, she just devalued everything that he held dear, including the most beautiful treasure that he had, his daughter. And in the end, because she did that, she lived miserably after ever after, even though Cinderella did kind of forgive her. But she did live miserably ever after with two blind daughters. So, and crippled in the Grimm's fairy tale. So there's that. Don't be a wicked stepmother. Be Cinderella. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye now.